Hello everyone. Today we are going to solve question number 238, product of array except self. Given an integer array nums, return an array answer such that answer of I is equal to product of all the elements of nums except nums of I. Okay, so in this video we are going to discuss three methods to solve this question. Okay, first let's go for brute force approach. So in this method, what you have to do is first you're going to pick first element using I and will create a variable product that is going to store product of the element except this element in I. Okay, then you're going to use a second loop and we are going to check if I is not equal to j, then and only then we are going to do product star equal to nums of j. Okay, and in the end we are going after all the multiplications we are going to fill answer using this product, and in the end we're going to return this array. Okay, the time complexity is going to be O of n square because we are using nested loops, and the space complexity is going to be O of n to store this variable this array inside. Okay, so let's visualize how this is going to work. This visualization is just for one variable, for let's say 2. Okay, so since you can see here I and j are same, so the product remains 1. And important point, we have to initialize product using 1, not 0. Okay, since we are going to multiply, so if we initialize it with 0, it's going to turn all the values to 0. Okay, next we we have here where we are we have moved to next iteration. Then the product is going to be 4. Next, 4 into 6 is going to be 24. Next, 24 into 8 is going to be 192. So the 192 is going to be value for 2. Okay, 192 is going to be value for 2. And same way we are going to fill the whole array, a new array that we will build. Okay, next let's code this one and then we'll see next method. Okay, so it's easy one. We just need a vector and answer. Next we need a for loop and I equals 0, I less than n, I plus plus. Then we need a variable to store our product, is going to be 1, initialize it with 1. Then we're going to use int j equals to 0, j less than n, j plus plus. And then we have to put the condition where if I is not equal to j, then and only then product star equal to nums of j. Okay, and in the end we are going to push this product inside answer. So answer dot push back product, and in the end we have to return answer. Okay, so this is going to be code using brute force approach. Okay, let's run this. Okay, let's submit this. So you can see here we received a time limit exceed. So basically our code is taking a lot more time for this input. Okay, so now we are going to see second method to solve this question. Okay, so let's see the second method to solve this question. Although in this method we are going to use division operator and it's not recommended inside this question, but this method gives us a lot of insight in this question. Okay, so let's see how this method works. So in this method, what we are going to do is we are going to create a net product for the whole array without zeros. What do we mean by without zeros? Being that for this, let's say for this array, the product is going to be 2 into 3. Okay, 2 into 3 being 6. So we are going to ignore these zeros while calculating product. And during above calculation, we can also count the number of zeros while traversal. Okay, so you can see here the number of zeros here are 2. Okay, next, after these two steps, the whole question is distilled into these three cases. First, if number of zeros is greater than 1, then you can return the whole array filled with zeros. Okay, so you can see here, if we cancel out this 0 and we calculated the product of 2, 3 and 0, it's going to be 0. Okay, so hence for the whole array is going to be filled with 0. Okay, next case being if the number of zeros is equal to 1. In that case, if say, let's say this 0 over here and all the other values are not non-zero, then what you're going to do is you're going to fill all the values with 0, and only this value where 0 existed, we are going to fill it with 1 into 2 into 4. Okay, the product that we calculated earlier. Okay, the third case being if the number of zeros are 0, then we are going to fill it with product divided by nums of I. Okay, and in the end we are going to return answer. Okay, for this method the time complexity is going to be O of n and the space complexity is going to be O of n. Okay, so let's visualize how this method works. First, you'll be given this array. Okay, you have to initialize the product with 1 and number of zeros is 0. Okay, after the first traversal for this array the product is going to be 24, and we can see the number of zeros in this array is 0. Hence we can directly use this third case where number of zeros is 0. We are going to fill this array answer is with product divided by nums of I. So product is 24 divided by nums of I. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's it. Next is going to be this case where we have only 1, 0. Okay, so the product is going to be 1 and number of 0 is 0 initially. After first traversal, the product is going to be 9. Minus 3 into 3 into 1 into minus 1. Minus minus cancel. So 3 into 3 is 9. Okay, so the product is going to be 9 and number of zeros is 1. Hence, all the places are going to be filled with 0 and the only place where 0 existed is going to be filled with product. Okay, so let's code this one. So in this method, what first we'll need vector to store answer. It's going to be of size n. Next we need something to count, so zeros is equal to 0. This is going to count number of zeros. Next we'll need a product, so product is going to be 1. Okay, initialize it at 1. Now we're going to use for loop. So for int I equals 0, I less than n, I plus plus. So if nums of I equals 0, then we're going to do zeros plus plus. Else we are going to do product star equal to nums of I. Okay, so these are the two cases where if nums is 0, then we are going to do 0 plus plus, else we're going to multiply nums of I in product. Okay, after this we have three cases in our hand. So this is going to be more than one zeros. Okay, so in this case if zeros is greater than 1, in that case you can directly return vector with int and answer, and you can return it like this n comma 0. Okay, this is a vector of size n with all the values filled 0 inside it. Okay, next we are going to use a for loop for int I equals 0, I less than n, I plus plus. Now if zeros is equals 1, okay, it's the second case, then what we have to do is uh, if nums of I equals 0, in that case only answer of I equal to product, else answer of I equal to 0. Okay, and the other case where zeros is equal to 0, in that case we are going to do answer of I is equal to product divided by nums of I. Okay, this is going to be the only place where you're using division operator. Okay, and in the end you have to return answer. Okay, so let's run this. Okay, let's submit this. So you can see here we have solved this question in of n time complexity. Okay, so let's see the third method, which is actual method to solve this question, and we'll also have optimization that's method. Okay, So let's see the prefix plus suffix array method to solve this question. Okay, so in this method, what we are going to do is first we are going to create a prefix product where prefix of I is equal to prefix of I minus 1 star nums of I minus 1. Okay, so next we are going to create a suffix product where suffix of I is equal to suffix of I plus 1 into nums of I plus 1. Okay, suffix of I plus 1 into nums of I plus 1. And after all this, we are going to iterate over this array and we are going to fill answer where answer of I is equal to prefix of I into suffix of I. Okay, so why this method is working? As you can see here, for certain I, the answer that we require is product from 0 to I minus 1. Okay, and this thing we can receive from prefix of I. Next, we need multiplication of product from I plus 1 to n. And this thing that we can get from suffix of I. Okay. So the first part can be gathered through a prefix and second part through suffix. And hence we can solve this method using two arrays of prefix and suffix. Okay. This method, the time complexity is going to be O of n and space is going to be O of n too. Okay. You can see here we have to calculate products, and hence in the older versions where we used to use prefix sum. Okay, so the syntax used to look like this: the prefix of I is equal to prefix of I minus 1 plus nums of I. Okay, but here we are ignoring nums of I because we have to calculate product of array except itself, and we have to do product, hence we cannot see plus here, rather we see a product sign over here. Okay, so you can see here first, let's visualize how this method is going to work. You can see here first you're given this array 1 2 3 4. Now what you are going to do is you're going to create this prefix array. So how you're going to create a prefix array is first value is going to be 1. Next value is going to be the previous value 1 into this value 1. 1 into 1. Next is going to be all the previous values into this 2. So 1 into 1 into 2. Next, for this value we'll have 1 into 1 into 2 into 3. Okay, so this is going to be a prefix array 1 1 2 6. Okay, next we are going to calculate a suffix array. So for suffix array we are going to start from back, where the first value is going to be for 4 it's going to be 1. For next value it's going to be 1 into 4, where this is this multiplied by this 1 into 4. Next value is going to be 1 into 4 into 3, so 1 into 4 into 3. Next value is going to be 1 into 4 into 3 into 2. Okay, this value is going to be, so the final values are 24, 12, 4 and 1. And in the end, for the final answer calculation, you'll have the product of prefix array into suffix array. So prefix array into suffix array, the product is going to be 24, 12, 8, 6. Okay, you can see here 24, 12, 8, 6. The answer matches. And so let's code this one. Okay, so first we'll need a vector int prefix. This is going to store a prefix and we are going to initialize it with size n and all the values being 1 because we are storing products. Okay, next we need a for loop. So for int I equals 0, I less than n, I plus plus, prefix of I is equal to prefix of I minus 1 star nums of I minus 1. Okay, why we are doing nums of I minus 1? Because we have to calculate product of array except itself. Okay, next we have second vector int suffix n comma 1, and again a for loop for int I equals 0, I less than n, I plus plus, suffix of I minus I is equal to suffix of I plus 1 into nums of I plus 1. Okay, one mistake I did here was we have to, for suffix we have to traverse it from back, not from front. Okay, so I is equal to n minus 2 and also this one we have to initialize it with 1, not 0. Okay, I less than I greater than equal to 0, I minus minus. Okay, so why we are doing 1 over here? Because for calculation of this we are going to pick I minus 1. Okay, so prefix of 0 is going to be 1, and prefix henceforth for this for loop, this is going to be pointing to I minus 1. So 0 minus 1 being minus 1. Okay, so this is for suffix, this is for prefix. Next we'll need another vector and answer of size n comma 1, and again a for loop for int I equals 0 else than n I plus plus answer of I is equal to prefix of I star suffix of I. Okay, so this way we have filled our answer. Now we have to return answer. Let's run this. So you can see here the code is very symmetric. First for prefix, next for suffix, and next for answer. We have just used creation of vector and 3 loops. Okay, so you can see here we have submitted and we got answer. And next part being for the optimization part, what you can do is rather than using a lot of storage over here, we are using at least 3 vectors. What you can do is you can reduce the storage. Okay, so the optimization part being in just use vector answer. Okay, so to use just vector answer, what you're going to do is you're going to store prefix in this answer. Okay, answer of I minus 1 star norms of I minus 1. Okay, so we're going to store prefix in this answer, and for suffix we are not going to use this part. We are not going to use this part. We are going to create an integer suffix is equal to 1. Okay, and for this we are going to initialize from I minus 1, not I minus 2. Why? Because first let's see, answer star equal to suffix. Okay, and suffix star equals nums of I. Okay, so for each iteration, suffix is going to increase one by one from, okay, let me show you. So here you can see if I created a suffix variable here, this is suffix here, it's going to, it's going to, for here, for this value, it's going to be 1. Okay, for the next value, it's going to be 1 into 4. Okay, so I'm just going to multiply this 4 with the suffix. Okay, so for each iteration I am slowly multiplying this, hence I will iterate it from I minus 1. Okay, and answer is going to be filled, and then let's run this. So all the mechanisms are same, there's nothing changed. It's just we are using this these arrays smartly now. Okay, okay, let's submit this. And you can see we have solved this question using of and time complexity. Okay, thank you.